My mom looked straight at me and said, "Zoe, we used your college fund for your sister's IVF." For a second, it felt like the whole room tilted. Dad didn't blink. Mia stared at her hands. And I realized this wasn't a mistake, this was planned, but instead of crying like they expected, I smiled so calmly that my mom's face tightened with fear. Then I said one word and every person in that dining room froze. "Share this video. Subscribe, or aaj jo sun wala hai. Wo ab miss nahi karna chahinj." Mom leaned back like she couldn't believe what she heard. "Zoe, stop smiling like that. This isn't a joke." Her voice was shaking now, not mine. She thought I would beg them, shout, break down the way I always used to. But something in me had changed long before this dinner. They just never noticed. Dad cleared his throat like he was preparing for another lecture. "Zoe, your sister needed it more. You're young, you'll figure something out." The way he said figure something out made it sound like my future was a spare toy they could throw away any time. And Mia, who I worked overtime shifts to support, couldn't even look at me. I kept my voice steady. "You used everything." Mom nodded quickly, like ripping off a bandage. "All of it. You'll understand when you're older." Older? I was already old enough to know what betrayal felt like when it comes from the people you trusted the most. The room went quiet, not peaceful quiet, but the kind where everyone is waiting for the explosion. But I wasn't exploding. Not today. Mom finally snapped. "Zoe, why aren't you saying anything? Your smile is scaring me." Because she didn't know what I had been doing for the last 2 years. She didn't know the dreams I built without telling anyone. She didn't know the place I reached while they were busy treating me like background furniture. And the word I said earlier, the one that froze them. Dad stood up slowly, his voice tight. "Zoe, explain what you meant by that, right now." All three of them were staring at me like they suddenly realized they were standing on ground that could break any second. I took a breath, leaned forward, and repeated that same single word, this time louder. And the moment I said it, my mom's hand slipped off the table. Mia's eyes filled with panic. Dad whispered, "Zoe, tell me you're lying." But I wasn't, and they were about to learn exactly why that one word changed everything. The air in the room shifted the moment I repeated that word. It was like they suddenly realized the person they thought was weak wasn't weak anymore. Mom tried to recover first, forcing a smile that looked more like fear. "Zoe, don't play games. You're scaring your sister." But Mia wasn't scared because of me. She was scared because she sensed the truth. Something big was coming. Something none of them were ready for. Dad stepped closer, his voice sharp. "Where did you get the confidence to talk like this? You don't have anything. We know exactly what you earn." He really believed that. He thought the version of me from 2 years ago still existed. Quiet, exhausted, working 2 small jobs, depending on them for every little thing. He had no idea what I had been building at night while they slept. Mia finally whispered, "Zoe, what did you mean? What word was that supposed to be?" She looked nervous, like she already suspected the answer and didn't want to hear it. I didn't say anything yet. I just watched their panic grow, the way their expressions shifted from confidence to confusion, confusion to worry, and worry to something they never felt toward me. Before fear. Mom slammed her hand on the table. "Zoe, enough. Whatever this attitude is, drop it. You're making a scene." A scene. They had taken my entire future without asking, and I was making a scene. I leaned back in my chair, calm in a way that scared them even more. "Why didn't you tell me?" Dad exhaled loudly. "Because you would have said no. You don't understand responsibility." Mia needed help. There it was, his favorite line. Whenever they hurt me, they called it responsibility. Whenever I fought back, they called it disrespect. Mia finally looked at me, her voice breaking. "Zoe, I didn't know they used all of it. I thought they asked you." That hit me for a second. I saw guilt in her eyes, real guilt, but before I could respond, Mom cut in harshly. "Stop acting like the victim. You're young, healthy, smart. You'll rebuild your money. This was for family." Family. Funny how that word only mattered when they needed something from me. Dad folded his arms. "Whatever you're hinting at, just spit it out. What makes you so calm right now?" I looked at all three of them slowly, letting the silence work its magic. They were shaking more from the quiet than they ever did from my anger. Finally, I stood up. My mom grabbed the edge of the table like she needed support. "Zoe," she whispered, "what are you hiding?" I picked up my bag, pulled out a slim black folder, and placed it gently on the table. Dad stepped back. Mom covered her mouth. Mia whispered, "What is that?" The truth was inches away from them, the truth they never imagined. And when I opened that folder, their entire world started to fall apart. The moment the folder opened, the room fell completely silent, so silent I could hear my own heartbeat. My mom leaned forward first, her eyes narrowing as she tried to understand what she was looking at. "Zoe, these papers, what is this?" Dad moved beside her, snatched the top sheet, and scanned it with a frown that slowly melted into something colder. Fear. Mia stood up from her chair like she couldn't breathe. Zoe, no way. This can't be real. But it was real. More real than anything they had planned behind my back. Inside that folder were the documents they never expected to see, my LLC papers, my contract agreements, my revenue statements, and the biggest one, an acquisition letter with a number they couldn't even process in one glance. Mom shook her head like the paper was lying. This says your app sold for. She stopped, her throat closing. Dad grabbed the second page. No, this isn't possible. You don't even know coding. I smiled. I learned. Mia's hand flew to her mouth. Zoe, when? How? You were working all the time at night, I said softly, while you slept. While they told me I'd never be anything. While everyone treated me like I had no future. Dad dropped the papers on the table. This must be fake. You can't have built something like this. But his voice didn't match his words. He was scared, terrified. Actually, Mom whispered, Zoe, you sold it for 6 figures. I didn't blink. 7. Her chair slid back so fast it nearly fell. The shock hit them like a wave. But instead of celebrating, instead of being proud, they looked threatened. Mom's voice cracked. You didn't tell us. I looked at her calmly. You never asked. You never cared what I was doing. You only cared what I could give you. She opened her mouth but no words came out. Dad stepped toward me, his tone changing instantly. Zoe, we're family. You should have trusted us with this. The same man who didn't trust me enough to keep my own college fund safe wanted trust now. A slow laugh escaped me, not mocking, just tired. Mia finally sat back down, shaking. Zoe, you've been living a whole other life. I nodded because I had to. The room remained frozen as I closed the folder and tucked it under my arm. Mom reached out with a trembling hand. Zoe, you still have money left, right? A lot? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Her voice rose, desperate this time. Zoe, please, say something. She wasn't worried about me. She was worried about what she no longer controlled. Then Dad said the one thing that revealed everything, every hidden intention, every selfish thought. Zoe, you know we can still fix this if you help us with the new expenses. Mia's treatment isn't over. Mia gasped. Dad, stop. But he didn't. He took another step. Zoe, you need to help. You owe us. And that's when I looked at him, then at my mom, then at the sister who finally saw the truth. I took a deep breath. And I said something, one simple sentence that made all 3 of them jump from their seats. The moment that sentence left my mouth, the reaction was explosive. Mom pushed her chair back so hard it scraped the floor. Dad froze like someone had pulled the ground from under him. And Mia, she looked at me with this mix of fear and respect, like she'd just seen a completely different version of her little sister. Dad's voice cracked first. Zoe, you don't mean that. You can't. But he knew I meant every word. For the first time in my life, I wasn't bending. I wasn't begging. I wasn't scared. Mom grabbed the table, her voice rising. Zoe, you can't walk away from us after all we've done for you. A bitter laugh almost slipped out, but I swallowed it. All they had done for me? They stole my fund, lied to my face, used my future like spare change, and suddenly they were the victims? Mia tried to speak, but Dad shut her down with a glare. Then he turned back to me. You don't understand how serious this IVF process is. We already made payments. Your sister needs more rounds. You can't just abandon your responsibility. Responsibility, that word again, that word they used only when they wanted something from me. I kept my face calm, even though my heart was pounding. I didn't ask for any of this. You made choices about my life without even telling me. Mom slammed her hand down. We're your parents. We don't need your permission. And I'm not your child to sacrifice anymore, I said quietly. Dad stepped closer, lowering his voice like he could intimidate me the way he used to. Zoe, that money you have now, it's nothing without guidance. You think you can handle this alone? You need us. I stared directly into his eyes. No, you needed me. His mouth snapped shut. For a moment, none of them moved. They thought they could guilt me, scare me, control me, but this time they were the ones panicking. Mia suddenly stood up and grabbed my arm gently. Zoe, wait, don't make decisions in anger. Just tell us what you're thinking. Her voice wasn't manipulative. It was soft, real. And for a moment, I almost broke because she was the only one who never wanted to hurt me. I took a long breath. I'm not angry, Mia. I'm done. Dad's head snapped up. Done with what? I turned toward the door. With being the family wallet. Mom made a choking sound. Zoe, if you walk out that door. I stopped and looked back. You already walked away first. You just didn't notice. Mom's face went pale. Dad looked like he'd been punched. Mia was speechless, her eyes filling with tears. And then my phone vibrated loud enough that the whole table heard it. A notification flashed across the screen. Dad saw the logo first. His jaw dropped. Mom gasped. Mia whispered, Zoe, is that? They all stared at me, waiting for the answer because that notification wasn't normal. It wasn't random. It wasn't small. The three of them stared at my phone like it was a bomb about to explode. The logo on the notification glowed bright. On the screen, one they recognized instantly. Mom covered her mouth. Dad grabbed the back of a chair for balance and Mia whispered, "Zoe, that's the investment firm you told me about once, right?" I slowly unlocked my phone. One new message, one line that shifted the entire room. Funds cleared. Your second payout is now available. Dad staggered. Second? You mean there was a first? And now a second? Mom's voice cracked. Zoe, how much money are we talking about? She sounded less like a mother and more like someone watching a jackpot slip away from her hands. I didn't brag. I didn't show numbers. I just said calmly, enough to rebuild my life. Enough to build 10 more. That silence hit them harder than the truth itself. Mom tried to recover. Zoe, sweetheart, you know your sister's treatment, but I didn't let her finish. Mom, you stole my entire future. You didn't even ask, and now you want more. She froze. Dad stepped forward, pretending to soften his tone. Zoe, listen, families go through things, mistakes happen, but this money, it can help all of us. I cut him off. You want a Sharon? Something you didn't believe in, something you would have mocked if I had told you? His face dropped. The truth was finally out in the air. They didn't want me, they wanted what I built. Mia walked closer, tears running down her cheeks. Zoe, I'm sorry, I really didn't know. I didn't want this. For the first time that night, my chest tightened. She wasn't lying, she wasn't pretending, she was hurting too. I pulled her into a quick, gentle hug. It's not your fault. She held on like she didn't want me to go. Please don't leave like this, but I had to. When I stepped back, Mom reached out. Zoe, please don't leave this family. I looked her in the eyes. I didn't leave. You pushed me out the day you took everything that was mine. Dad opened his mouth, but no words came out. I grabbed my folder, my phone, my bag, and walked toward the door. My steps were calm. Their panic grew with each one. Mom cried. Dad muttered my name under his breath. Mia whispered, Zoe, please be happy. Even if it's without us. At the door, I paused, not to go back, not to forgive them, but to give them the one truth they needed to hear. I built my life without your support. I'll grow it without your approval. And I walked out, not broken, not scared, but free. Behind me, the house stayed silent. Inside it, 3 people finally understood that the girl they underestimated, the girl they used, the girl they crushed, had become someone they could never control again.